Markus Taylor's fingers were numb from the cold when he reached down to lift the oversized suitcase, blocking the platform's edge. But he didn't expect the woman behind it to look like she belonged on the cover of a fashion magazine. "Let me help you," he said, adjusting his grip without waiting for permission. The woman blinked, surprised. "It's heavier than it looks." He hoisted it up with one arm, his other hand keeping hold of the small fingers tangled in his coat. "I've carried a sleepy 5-year-old and 2 bags of groceries up 4 flights of stairs. I think I've got this." Little Leela, his daughter, peeked up at the woman with wide eyes. "Are you a princess?" The woman let out a soft laugh. "Not quite. Could have fooled me," Markus muttered, setting the suitcase down near the taxi line. He straightened, brushing his hands on his jeans, which were worn but clean. "You good from here?" She pushed her sunglasses up into her dark waves. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he said, turning to Leela. "Come on, sweetie." "Wait," the woman called out, glancing down at her phone like she was trying to buy herself time. Her red lips parted, hesitating. "There's a long line for cabs. I could use the company." "If you're not in a rush," Markus looked at her like she was speaking another language. "You want us to wait in line with you?" "I just got in from Tokyo. I don't know anyone in Boston anymore," she said, lowering her phone. "And your daughter's adorable." Leela beamed. "I like your coat." "It's shiny." The woman grinned. "Thanks, it's Italian leather." "Wow," Leela whispered like it was a magic word. Markus sighed, rubbing his jaw. "We were just heading to the bus stop." "Then let me buy you coffee. You helped me, least I can do." He hesitated. She didn't look like someone who waited in line or offered coffee to strangers. Her boots alone probably cost more than his rent, but Leela was already tugging his sleeve. "Daddy, can we go with the princess?" He looked down at her, then back at the woman. "One coffee," he said. "No strings." "No strings," she agreed, grinning wide. They walked together to a cafe across the street. Leela skipped ahead, humming a made-up song. Markus held the door open as the woman stepped in, immediately drawing attention. The barista actually fumbled a cup when he saw her. "Wrenne," she said, glancing back at Markus with a small smile. "Wrenne Ashford," he nodded. "Markus Taylor, and that little hurricane is Leela." Wrenne crouched down beside Leela. "Can I get you a hot chocolate with whipped cream?" Leela asked. "Of course," Wrenne said, standing again. "And for you, coffee. Black." She ordered like she'd done it 1,000 times, then slipped a black card across the counter. Markus caught it, not just any card, a centurion. His throat tightened. "You're visiting Boston?" he asked carefully. "No." "Moving back." She took off her coat as they sat by the window, revealing a sleek navy dress under a white blazer. "My company's expanding. Boston branch opens next month." "Your company?" She smiled like she got that question a lot. "Ashford and Vale." "Maybe you've heard of it." He nearly spilled his coffee. "The tech firm?" She nodded. "That's me." He stared at her for a long second. "You're the Ashford." Wrenne leaned back, watching his reaction. "I didn't lie. I'm not a princess." "No," Markus muttered. "You're a CEO." She laughed quietly. "Is that a problem?" He shook his head but felt a heavy pit settle in his stomach. "Not a problem, just unexpected." Leela leaned close to Wrenne. "What's a CEO?" "Someone who makes big decisions," Wrenne said, brushing a curl from Leela's forehead. "But it's not as fun as being a princess." Leela giggled. They sat there for an hour, talking about everything from favorite cartoons to how hard it was to find decent bagels in Tokyo. Markus found himself forgetting the weight of his overdue rent, his busted heater, his 3 part-time jobs. Wrenne didn't treat him like a project. She asked about his life, listened when he talked about raising Leela alone after her mom left, and never once looked at him like he didn't belong at her table. When she stood to leave, her driver was already waiting outside the cafe. A sleek black SUV pulled to the curb and the door opened. "I meant what I said," she told him. "You helped me. I don't forget things like that." "You don't have to. I want to." She reached into her bag and pulled out a simple white card. "Ashford and Vale headquarters. Reception will get you through." He took the card slowly. "Why?" She smiled. "Because I like you, Markus Taylor, and I don't usually like people this fast." Leela tugged his coat. "Can we see her again?" Wrenne crouched once more, holding Leela's tiny hand. "Would that be okay with you, Dad?" Markus looked at them both, completely unsure how this had turned into his life. "Yeah," he said finally. That'd be okay. Wrenne stood, her coat already being held open by the driver. See you soon, she said. Markus watched the SUV glide away, Leela's hand still wrapped around his. Daddy, she said softly, I think the princess might like you. He stared down at the card in his hand, heart pounding. Yeah, he whispered. I think she might. Markus stood outside the building's glass facade, the white card still in his pocket, as if it might vanish if he looked at it too long. The towering structure of Ashford and Vale loomed above him, mirrored steel and clean lines, the kind of place he avoided because security usually spotted the wear on his boots before he ever made it through the door. But he wasn't alone. Leela clung to his hand, her backpack bouncing against her side as she skipped along the sidewalk. Are we going in, Daddy? He crouched beside her, brushing a thread of wool from her mitten. Only for a few minutes. You remember the lady we met, the one who smells like flowers and talks fancy, she whispered. Markus couldn't help the laugh. That's the one. Inside, the air was warmer and smelled faintly of citrus and polished wood. A receptionist with a headset lifted her gaze, pausing mid-sentence when she spotted him. I'm here to see Wrenne Ashford, Markus said before nerves could stop him. The woman examined him for a beat too long before tapping something into her screen. Your name, Markus Taylor, her posture softened. One moment, Mr. Taylor. A man in a tailored gray suit arrived moments later, gesturing toward the elevators. Miss Ashford is expecting you. Markus glanced at Leela. You good to ride up with me, she nodded, her eyes wide as they stepped into the marble-paneled elevator. Do they have snacks up there? I doubt it, he muttered, adjusting the strap of her backpack. When the doors opened, Wrenne stood waiting in front of a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. Her hair was pulled back this time, and the cut of her suit was sharper than anything he'd ever seen up close. She smiled when she saw them. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't either, Markus admitted. But I figured you might actually be serious. I don't play games, she said, stepping closer. And I don't forget people who treat me like a person instead of a nameplate. Leela ran to her, arms open. You have the shiny car. Wrenne crouched, embracing her without hesitation. That's right. Maybe next time you can sit in the front. Markus crossed his arms. Not until she's 12. Wrenne stood, her eyes flicking toward him. You're cautious. I'm a parent. She gestured toward a door to her right. Let's talk. The office was massive, but warm, soft lighting, bookshelves, a framed photo of a woman with the same cheekbones as Wrenne, but older. Leela settled onto the plush couch near the window, pulling out her coloring book without being asked. She's comfortable here, Wrenne noted, pouring water into 2 glasses. That makes one of us. She handed him a glass. Let me guess, you think I brought you here to offer you some kind of charity? He didn't answer. Markus, she said, folding into the chair across from him, I don't pity you. I admire you. You're raising a daughter on your own, you work long hours, and you still made time to help a stranger with a suitcase. I didn't do it for a reward. I know, that's why you deserve one. He shifted in his seat. What exactly are you offering? She leaned forward. I need someone I can trust, someone who doesn't treat me like a trophy or a stepping stone. I want to hire you, he blinked. To do what? Facilities coordinator. It's a new position. You'd manage logistics, deliveries, maintenance, staff scheduling. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. Decent pay, benefits. He stared at her. Why me? Because I trust you, and that doesn't happen often. Markus rubbed his jaw. I can't afford a nanny. Leela's with me after school. Wrenne glanced at the couch where Leela was humming to herself. We have an on-site childcare partnership. She'd be close by. He hesitated, something tight catching in his chest. You don't have to decide now, she said quietly. But the offer stands. Markus looked over at Leela. If I say yes, you're not going to expect anything else. I don't mix business with expectations, Wrenne said. But I meant what I said at the cafe. I like you, Markus. I'd like to see where that goes if you're open to it. He met her eyes, surprised by the honesty in them. You're not what I expected. Neither are you, she replied. That night, back in their apartment, the radiator coughed to life for the first time all week. Leela was asleep with her book still open across her chest, and Markus sat at the table staring at the business card again. He reached for his phone and dialed the number she'd written on the back. When her voice answered, warm and unguarded, he exhaled. "I'll take the job," he said. There was a pause. Then softly, "Good, I was hoping you would." He looked toward Leela's room where her nightlight cast a soft glow. "Me too." The conference room buzzed with quiet tension as Markus stepped inside, clipboard in hand. It had been 3 weeks since he'd started at Ashford and Vale, and already he'd learned how to navigate the maze of polished glass offices, temperamental elevators, and the kind of staff meetings where people used words like synergy without blinking. He wasn't intimidated. Not really. But the suit he wore still felt like a costume borrowed, not owned. Wrenne sat at the head of the table, one leg crossed neatly over the other, her voice calm as she reviewed the upcoming expansion schedule. She didn't look at him right away. She didn't need to. She always noticed him first, but waited until no one else did. "Everyone clear on the logistics for Friday's launch event?" she asked, eyes sweeping the room. There were a few nods, a few murmured confirmations. "Great," she said, closing her folder. "That's all for now." As the room emptied, Markus remained at the far end, scanning his notes. She didn't say anything until the last assistant left, letting the door click softly behind her. "You're adjusting faster than I expected," she said, rising. He looked up. "I'm good with systems." "Less good with the espresso machine. I think it hates me." Wrenne walked toward him, her heels soundless against the carpet. "I've been meaning to ask how's Leela handling the new routine. She loves it, especially the art room. She brought home a sculpture yesterday." "It looks like a duck, but I'm not allowed to call it that." Wrenne laughed, a quiet, genuine sound. "I'd love to see it, the sculpture, not the duck." "You ever around after 5? Markus asked carefully. She hesitated, then nodded. "Tomorrow." "I'll stop by." That night, Markus stood in the kitchen, stirring pasta while Leela perched on the counter, legs swinging. "Is she coming for dinner?" she asked, licking tomato sauce off her fingers. She said she'd stop by. "Do I have to wear a dress?" He glanced at her, amused. "No. You can wear your pajamas if you want." The next evening, Wrenne arrived not in heels and silk, but in sneakers and a soft gray coat. She brought a paper bag filled with fresh bread and a bottle of something he couldn't pronounce but she swore went well with pasta. The three of them ate in the narrow kitchen, elbows bumping, laughter spilling into the warm room. Leela told stories about her class's guinea pig and insisted Wrenne try the mystery sculpture, which now had a pipe cleaner crown. Later, when Leela drifted off on the couch, Wrenne leaned back in her chair, watching Markus clear the dishes. "You know," she said, "I've had dinners in Monaco that felt colder than your kitchen." He wiped his hands on a towel. "Well, the radiator's been working lately." She tilted her head. "That's not what I meant." He turned to face her. "I know." Something shifted in the air between them, not loud or sudden but present, a quiet weight. "I keep thinking about what you said," she began. "About not mixing business and expectations. And I don't want to make this complicated for you, or for her." He folded the towel carefully. "But you want something more." She didn't speak right away. "Then I think I already do." He stepped closer, resting his hand on the back of the chair she sat in. "I'm not afraid of complicated. I've lived in it for years, but I won't let anyone into Leela's life who doesn't mean to stay." Wrenne looked up at him. "I'm not going anywhere." He leaned down, brushing his lips against her forehead. "Then we'll figure it out." The next week passed in a blur of launch preparations. Markus worked late, coordinating event deliveries, managing the logistics team, and somehow still making it home in time for bedtime stories. Wrenne was everywhere: press interviews, investor calls, staff briefings, but in between, she always found him. A hand brushing his back as she passed. A glance across the room that said more than words. On the night of the launch, the venue shimmered with golden light and soft music. The city skyline glittered through the massive windows, and guests in designer gowns mingled with tech executives and media elites. Markus stood near the back, wearing a suit that actually fit this time. He watched Wrenne move through the crowd, poised and radiant, as if she belonged in every room she entered. He didn't. But when her gaze found his, her expression softened, and she crossed the room without hesitation. "You clean up well," she said, standing beside him. "You don't look too bad yourself," he replied, tugging at his collar. She smiled. "Walk with me." They slipped out onto the terrace where the noise of the party faded into the city's hum. The air was cool, crisp with early spring. "I've been thinking," she said, staring out at the skyline. "Dangerous habit." She nudged him gently. "I want to invest in something personal, something that doesn't end when the quarter does." He looked at her, heart thudding. "Like what?" "You." He was silent for a beat. "That's not small talk. It's not meant to be," he exhaled slowly. "You're not a maybe in my life, Wrenne. If this is real, it's not just about you and me, it's about her too." "I know," she said quietly. "And I've never wanted something to be real so badly." Markus reached out, taking her hand, grounding them in that moment. "Then let's stop walking in circles." She leaned into him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Deal." Behind them, the city kept glowing. But on that terrace, nothing felt louder than the silence they shared, the kind that didn't need filling, because everything that mattered had already been said. Rain lashed against the windows of Markus's apartment as he zipped Leela's jacket and adjusted her hood. She bounced on her toes, her excitement fizzing through the cramped kitchen like it was Christmas morning. "Is it still happening even with the rain?" she asked. Markus handed her the umbrella. "Wrenne said the museum has a rooftop terrace, but there's an indoor garden too." "Either way, we're not canceling." Leela grinned, hugging his leg. "I made her a picture. It's of a flower that doesn't die, even in the storm." He crouched, brushing her hair back. "She's going to love it." The ride share pulled up late, and by the time they reached the museum, Leela's boots were soaked and Markus's shirt clung uncomfortably to his back beneath his blazer. Still, nothing could dull the anticipation in his chest. Inside, the building unfolded in warm marble and golden light. A string quartet played softly in the distance. Wrenne stood near the far staircase, facing away, her silhouette striking beneath the glass dome that arched above the courtyard. She turned as they approached, and her expression shifted the moment she saw Leela. Not just soft, but awestruck. "I've been waiting for you," Wrenne said, kneeling to accept the folded paper Leela held out. "It's a forever flower," Leela explained. "Even when it rains, it keeps growing." Wrenne unfolded it slowly, her hands gentle. "I've never been given a forever flower before." Markus watched her tuck it carefully into her clutch, as if it were more valuable than anything else in the room. "Can I go look at the fish pond again?" Leela asked. He nodded. "Stay where I can see you." She rushed ahead, her boots squeaking against the polished floor. Wrenne's voice came quieter now as she stepped closer. "I've never brought anyone here before." "Not even board members." Markus glanced at the soft glow of the gallery lights. "Kind of a big gesture just to show someone a koi pond." "I didn't bring you here for the koi." Her eyes held his for a long moment. "I brought you because this place makes me feel like I can breathe." "And I wanted to breathe with you," he blinked. "That's not something people say to me. I'm not most people." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small, flat box. "I was going to wait, but now feels right." Markus hesitated. "What is it?" "Open it." Inside, nestled in velvet, was a key with a silver tag engraved with a single word, "Home." He stared at it, unmoving. "It's not what you think," she said quickly. "I'm not asking for anything. I bought a place, a new place with more space, a garden. Close to the school. I pictured you and Leela in it before I even realized what I was doing." Markus held the key, the weight of it heavier than he expected. "You're not trying to fix our life, are you?" "No," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "I'm inviting you to build something with me." He looked at her for a long time, then slowly closed the box. "I can't take her out of what she knows overnight. She's just starting to feel like things are steady." Wrenne nodded. "Then we go at her pace, at your pace. Are you sure you want this? The late-night fevers, the tantrums, the cereal in your shoes kind of life," she smiled. "I want the love, all of it, however messy it comes." Just then, Leela appeared with wide eyes. "Daddy, the fish are doing a dance." Markus took her hand. "Let's go see." As they walked toward the courtyard, Wrenne slipped her arm around his waist. It felt natural, easy, like it had always belonged there. Weeks passed. Spring bled into early summer. Wrenne visited often, always careful never to overstep, but Leela began waiting for her at the window, asking if she'd be joining them for dinner or if they could show her their growing tomato plant. Markus watched it all with cautious awe. He'd never imagined his life folding into someone else's so seamlessly. Then one Sunday afternoon, as they picnicked in the new garden behind Wrenne's recently purchased brownstone, Leela tugged on Markus's sleeve. "Can we stay here forever?" she asked, sunflower seeds in her palm. He glanced toward Wrenne, who was laughing with one of Leela's stuffed animals perched on her shoulder. "If she wants us to," he said. Wrenne looked up. "What are you two scheming?" Markus stood, brushing off his jeans. "Actually, I've got something to say." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh," he walked over, crouched beside her, and pulled something from his pocket, a hand-folded paper flower with Leela's crayon scribbles around the edges. "We don't have a lot, but what we have, we give fully. I want to give that to you, not just today, every day." Her breath caught. "I know I'm not the man you pictured ending up with," he continued, "but I'm the one who'll be there when things get hard, who'll carry the weight when you're tired, who'll love you even when you don't feel like a CEO or anything else." She set the flower down carefully and cupped his jaw. "I didn't fall in love with a man who fit my world," she said. "I fell in love with the man who made me want to build a new one." Leela clapped her hands. "Are you getting married now?" Markus laughed. "Someday, maybe," Wrenne nodded. "Definitely." And just like that, under a sky soft with summer haze and laughter that echoed through a garden still finding its shape, they began something neither of them had expected, something real, lasting, and entirely their own. Rain whispered against the windows of the brownstone as Markus stood in the hallway, buttoning the last cuff of his white dress shirt. His reflection in the mirror was unfamiliar tailored sleeves, polished shoes, a quiet steadiness in his shoulders he hadn't seen in years. Behind him, Wrenne's voice floated from the living room, low and melodic as she helped Leela with her braid. "Not too tight, right?" she asked. Leela giggled. "It's perfect. Can we bring the colored pencils in the car?" Markus turned from the mirror. "Only if you promise not to draw on the seat again." "I was being creative," Leela said, lifting her chin. Wrenne kissed the top of her head. "That's what paper's for, sweetheart." They were headed to the Ashford Foundation Gala, a formal event that had once been strictly reserved for investors, diplomats, and dignitaries. This year, Wrenne had rewritten the guest list. Not just figuratively, she'd actually removed a dozen names and replaced them with people from the local community center, scholarship recipients, and the childcare staff who'd helped raise her when her mother traveled constantly for work. Markus adjusted the small bow tie around Leela's neck. "You ready to be the fanciest kid in the room?" she beamed. "I even have sparkles on my shoes." Wrenne looped her arm through Markus's as they stepped outside beneath the waiting awning. The driver opened the door of the black sedan, and Leela climbed in first, carefully holding her drawing pad upright like it was made of glass. Inside the car, Markus watched Wrenne from the corner of his eye. Her gown was deep plum, the fabric cascading in sweeping folds that shimmered under the streetlights. She wore no necklace, just a pair of earrings shaped like falling stars. "You nervous?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "Not tonight." The gala was held at the renovated City Conservatory, a sprawling building with glass ceilings and towering archways lit in soft gold. As they entered, Wrenne's name echoed through the room, but she didn't look toward the cameras. Her hand found Markus's, fingers lacing tightly through his. "You don't have to stay by my side the whole time," she whispered. "I'm not leaving your side," he said. They mingled, greeted, danced once with Leila between them, her head resting against Markus's chest as she swayed sleepily to the music. At one point, a man in a navy suit approached, offering Wrenne a drink and a too familiar smile. She declined without hesitation. "This is Markus Taylor," she said, her voice clear. The man blinked, taken aback. "You're here with him?" "Yes," Wrenne said. "He's the reason I don't feel like I'm pretending anymore." Later, near the end of the evening, Markus stepped onto the conservatory balcony. The city buzzed below, soft and distant. Wrenne joined him moments later, slipping her shawl around her shoulders. "I used to think love made you smaller," she said. "Less focused, less sharp. But I feel more myself with you than I ever did trying to be everything alone." Markus leaned on the railing. "I think you just needed someone who saw all of you and didn't run." "You never did," she said. "Even when I gave you every reason to doubt me." He turned to her fully. "I didn't fall in love with your company. I didn't care about the title. I fell in love with the way you looked at Leela like she was a person, not a problem, and the way you made me feel like I wasn't just surviving. Wrenne stepped closer. Then let's stop surviving, Markus. Let's live, he smiled. We already are. They kissed beneath the twinkle of the city's skyline, a kiss that wasn't rushed or uncertain. It was quiet and complete, built on everything they hadn't said and everything they now knew. 3 months later, the backyard of the brownstone buzzed with laughter and sunlight. Wrenne stood barefoot in the grass, her hand resting gently on the small curve of her stomach. Leela raced across the lawn in a purple cape, a paper crown taped to her forehead. "I'm the queen of the tomatoes," she yelled. Markus sat on the porch steps, sipping coffee from a chipped mug. "Long live the queen." "Careful," Wrenne called. "You're going to trip over the hose." "I'm a flying queen," Leela shouted, tripping over the hose. Wrenne winced and started forward, but Leela popped up laughing. "I'm okay." Markus looked up at Wrenne, his heart full in a way he hadn't known was possible. "You're glowing," he said. She touched her stomach. "You think it's the baby or the sun?" "Both," he said, rising to meet her. "But mostly it's you." She turned into him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You gave me a life I didn't know I wanted, and I will never stop choosing it." "Good," he murmured. "Because I plan on giving you every ordinary, messy, beautiful day I can." Leela came barreling toward them again, arms wide. Group hug, they wrapped her between them, laughter rising like music. The garden bloomed behind them. A new chapter had already begun. And none of them were walking alone anymore.